welcome to the first episode of Eco Talks. Today, Sean won't be joining us, but don't worry, we've got something even better lined up. Today, we have the Gardening Club from St. Edward's College with Gregory and Miss Wilkinson. Now, let's dig into all the green, from sustainable gardening tips to the benefits of getting your hands dirty. We'll explore what it's like being part of the Gardening Club at St. Edward's College and get some insights on how we can all grow a little greener. So, let's get started. So, why don't you tell us a bit about yourself, Gregory?
My name is Gregory Mukallaf. I attend St. Edward's College, Malta. I like to go sailing and I also sometimes go to Scouts.
Lovely. What about you, Miss Wilkinson?
So I'm a biology teacher here at St. Edward's. I've been here for about over a year now, and some things I enjoy are learning new things. I'm a big animal lover. I like learning about new technologies that I can use in class and in my personal life. Gardening is also another hobby of mine. Basically, anything to do with learning new things.
Interesting. Very interesting. Nice. So, how did you get into the gardening club? Like, how did the gardening club of the school started? Start?
This started, there was two colleagues of mine and myself, and during break time we used to sit and eat lunch outside by the pitches, and we used to talk about the plants that we're growing at home, our hobbies, giving cuttings to each other of plants that maybe we didn't have at home, growing them, and eventually the conversation led to maybe we start a gardening club together at school. And we also started learning about different hobbies that our students had. We realized that some students actually enjoy gardening as well. So that's how it progressed, one step at a time.
Okay. Okay. So it seems like you were all of a sudden bored, had nothing to do, um, and then you just wanted to do something for the better, and you came up with this lovely idea. What kind of things? What type of things do you do in the club? And are you guys focused on a school garden, or do you do other cool projects?
So in the gardening club, we actually do many different projects. It depends also on the time of year. For example, growing season of different crops. Some things we've grown last year were like, for example, the broad beans. We've also grown some spider plants. We've done also the olive oil. Gregory here was a very active member of all these activities. He can elaborate a lot more on his active role in these activities.
Yes. Right now we're working on a green area. This includes having a green wall and some other different sized plants on the floor and on the walls. And also we have a nice plot of land near the track where we can grow a few types of fool and broad beans.
Okay. And what are the year groups? So like all senior school, high school, or even like junior school.
So the gardening club is practically open for middle school and senior school only because of timings. Since this is a midday break club, junior school and middle and senior school, they have different break times. So obviously we cannot include the junior school as well. However, within St. Edward's College, the junior schools have their own gardening club as well, where they do their own activities. They grow their own crops, like for example, potatoes. So although it's two separate clubs, it's only because it's a matter of different timings for midday break.
Okay. Sounds very nice, and it seems like you put a lot of effort into the club. Yeah. So, and you do something different each week.
Yes. Right now we're trying to work full on the green area. If I'm right, next week we'll try and get some cuttings to put in small pots so we can start the green area.
The one that you were mentioning next to the track.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Or
on the other side.
on the other side.
Pellets,
Okay.
where now some other workers will help us raise the pellets and make them into planters where we can put either spider plants and a few other small types of cuttings. And also we're trying to improve our planters that are on the track, stuck with the gates, and trying to make them better and not deteriorate with the sun.
Nice. Very good. So, what's the best part about being in the gardening club in general?
from a teacher's perspective, the nice part is that you get to see students voluntarily, actively participating in something that they enjoy. And it also builds a positive relationship between the teachers and the students. There's more communication, and you get to see the students from a different perspective when you see them doing a hobby they enjoy.
Okay. So you wouldn't say it's just the gardening club itself. It's as well involves being with I don't know, like making teamwork, as well,
Definitely.
being with your friends, having fun. So it fosters a lot of values. The
Yes,
gardening club.
and especially that it fosters amongst the students the idea that, listen, learning is not just about what we do in class with the textbook and the board and all that, just the academic stuff. There's also learning practical life skills. We mentioned earlier, for example, we are growing the broad beans. Students are learning about things such as when is the right time to sow the beans, how long does it take to actually for them to actually grow, and when should we harvest them? They also learn about the life cycle of the plant. That the bean, the pod, actually starts off as a flower, which then develops
Wow.
into the actual pod, the fruit. So yes, there is a bit of science and biology involved in it, but they're learning it in a practical way rather than from a textbook, something that they have to memorize. It's easier to learn and remember something when it's a hands-on experience rather than something you just have to remember from what was said in
Yeah.
class.
Yeah. And what's your main way of teaching the students?
Well, in class, I always try and apply examples to everyday life because I believe, I mean, I was a student myself, and I still remember the examples that I was taught when they were made practical to me, when I could actually understand them because they made sense in my life, because I could see them, I could practice them rather than something that I wouldn't know about. It's just a textbook example. So I try to instill that in my students and in my teaching, that it's better to learn and to remember something from what you're doing rather than just try and memorize an example of a textbook, possibly even an example that does not happen locally. So using local examples definitely will help the students to, if they do not learn biology, at least they're learning something related to biology through the gardening club.
So yeah, you're learning a lot of stuff from just one thing.
Yes.
Yeah. And is it just you or
No, actually, there's two colleagues of mine, as I mentioned earlier. So there is Miss Mintoff, the chemistry teacher, and Miss Malani, the maths teacher. Together, we started this club. Earlier, you were talking about the projects that we do. And usually, what we do is, depending on the time of the year, we have different projects. So, for example, when it's close to Mother's Day, we we get lots of cuttings of spider plants, and we potted them, and eventually they were given as a token to the students in the gardening club as a gift to give to their parents for Mother's Day.
oh, that's very nice.
Yeah, but,
And also, when we had done and harvested the olives, we had bottled them up, and we had made a few stickers for them, and we had given them to the students in the gardening club.
Okay. And do you ever have any activities, not just the members of the gardening club, but also other students in the school? Like the other students in the school as well kind of get to know what progress you're making, what type of changes you're making.
Actually, we do not have something like a weekly update
Yeah,
to
that's what I'm
share
trying
our
to talk about,
ideas. But what's nice about the gardening club is that the students and also staff can see what we're doing because it's out there within the school. And it's very rewarding when students and staff, they come to us and tell us, oh, that was nice. That's a nice corner you've done
Yeah.
there with those plants. It's looking nicer now. Even, for example, when we were harvesting the olives to make the olive oil, we had so many students come and join us just to pick the olives. They saw us picking the olives during the midday break, and they just wanted to come and join in. So it was obviously helpful because there was a lot of olives to pick, and it also gave these students a sense of like acceptance within the gardening club. It's not something that you have to come to, or it has to be like a weekly commitment. If you can make it, you're more than welcome to come. But if you could do it just for one time, you're also welcome to join us just for one time.
Yeah, so students see it more like as something fun, not as a commitment. So it's more friendly for them.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, Gregory, how did you first get into the gardening club? You? First.
When I was younger, I had started in the junior school. I was staying a lot with Mr. Gerada. Later on, we started walking around the garden, and we said to speak to the gardener and ask him if we can um, own a bit of the plot of land. And then we developed it a bit. There were many things that to be done. To say the truth, there were a few walls that were a bit collapsed. It had collapsed, and there were a few students that helped us to rebuild it. We used, I think, a few mud, a bit of mud, and a few rocks. And then now it evolved a lot. I think they're even trying to do a bit of honey right now.
Wow.
And I'm seeing now that they are making and doing lots of herbs.
So you've been at this from your phone,
Yes, yes.
and you've used a lot of your time and breaks and your personal time to
Yes.
contribute to this. Would you say it's worth it overall?
Yes, later on in the long run, you do get a few stuff from doing, for example, the harvesting and what you get in the outcome from what you do.
Nice. And you would say you do this for the credit or more about the
No,
experience?
for the fun, and I find it as a special hobby for me. Others may say that it's boring, but for me, I find it.
Good, very good. Have you ever had any standout experiences in the garden, like a project that turned out surprisingly well, or a funny fail?
uh, in junior school, we had done 5 or 6 potatoes. We had seen to test it, but then we found out that each plant had made 9, 10 potatoes, and we said, okay, we'll try it again when it's time. And it turned out to be we had got many crates full.
Nice. What about you, Miss Wilkinson? Any
I
incidents like
think
this?
the biggest highlight of the gardening club so far was when we actually uh, produced the olive oil, because it started literally from harvesting the olives to pressing them, to bottling them, labeling the bottles, and actually selling them.
Yeah.
It was a very huge success, especially when students and staff were asking us whether they are for sale, whether they can reserve a bottle
So
to purchase
you do sell
them.
them. So you do sell them, or
Uh,
they're just for your own use?
So the first run last year,
Yeah.
it was like a trial run for us, and we managed to bottle around 30 bottles, I believe, small
That's
bottles of
pretty
olive
good.
oil. Yes, and as a token of appreciation to the students who come and join the gardening club and help out, they were given a bottle each. But also, we gave a bottle of olive oil to the SLT members within St. Edward's, also as an appreciation for them providing us with the actual glass bottles, the professional ones, helping out with creating the labels for and the packaging for it. And there were none left at the end of it.
And how much did you gather at the end?
I believe it was around 30 bottles of olive oil.
No, like as in money, like.
We didn't sell them. We just gave them out. Being the first run, we just donated them
Oh.
like trial olive oil. And next year we're gonna do much better, have a much bigger harvest, and eventually they will be for sale.
Okay. And do you promote this just to the students or even the parents?
Um, this would be discussed within the gardening club committee, but I believe, depending on the harvest, it would be promoted just not just to students and staff, but also to parents and family members. But again, it depends on how much olive oil we actually
Yeah.
get out of the olives.
So it seems like you do a lot of olive oils.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and as we were saying before, with the fails and all that, you learn from your mistakes and the nice memories, you know? So, What would you say if someone was just starting out? What plant would you recommend them trying to grow out with?
So, somebody new to gardening, I would go with something easy and simple. Maybe, for example, a spider plant. And I'm saying that because a spider plant can even survive in just a small jar of water. It doesn't need soil. So that would be a good first time plant to grow. Maybe also succulents. They do not require much care, and if you forget to water them, it's okay. It's not gonna die. So I think either spider plants or succulents.
So it's pretty good for those people, like the succulents, for those people who really don't just want to plant, don't really matter about, no, I'm just gonna forget it, not water it, nothing. Just leave it there in my room.
It's very resilient. So if you forget about it, it's not gonna die out.
All right, very good. So, how do you think gardening can help raise awareness about sustainability or the environment, especially with students like the members of the gardening club in St. Edwards?
So the gardening club within the school raises awareness because the students actually experience and learn firsthand how long it actually takes to grow the crops. So it's not just a matter of I've planted the plantlets or sowed the seeds, and next week I'm gonna get the crops and harvest them. So it teaches and it makes them aware that listen, there's a lot of things involved. There's a lot of time and patience. And when it comes to sustainability, they also start learning about using resources that you've already got to grow your garden. So, for example, we try and avoid using plastic pots. We do not use those, but we reused all the plastic containers, like, for example, the washing liquids. They come in 5 liter plastic cans.
The detergents.
The detergent, exactly. So we just cut the top off and use those as pots. So we're reusing something we had, plus we're reducing waste sent to the landfills and less pollution being created. So there's less waste being transported to the actual landfills, reducing greenhouse emissions.
Okay. And do you oftenly opt for some certain products from certain suppliers to I don't know, reduce your carbon footprint or possibly help the environment?
I'm proud to say that within the gardening club, our carbon footprint is very, very minimal because we never purchased anything to do the projects that we're doing. It was always done with recycled things that we have, reusing the things. It's quite a sustainable and eco-friendly club that we've got running. I think even Gregory can elaborate further on, for example, the composting. So there's an ongoing project on composting to avoid having to buy compost to make our soil more fertile. We've got the compost bins.
We had thought about once or twice about putting an organic bin in each class, but later on it turned not to be a very good idea. But also sometimes I know one of the committees of the gardening club was seeing on Facebook. She was seeing planters, reused planters. She was going around the houses seeing these planters for nothing, just for free, and they were reused, so we can reuse instead of they go to waste.
Okay. Okay. So you were talking about the compost bins. What happened? What was the issue? What flopped?
After around 3 years of it being opened,
Yeah.
I went with a few of my other friends. We opened it and we closed it soon enough. It wasn't a very good thing. It stank horribly, and just to reuse it and try and clean it was
So
useless.
it seems like it's never gonna happen again.
No.
At least not in the school.
No.
Okay. What are some easy ways people can make their gardening more eco-friendly?
Similar to what we do in school, instead of, for example, buying pots to repot their plants, they can very easily reuse plastic containers that they purchased food items in. So instead of throwing away the empty container, just give it a quick rinse and fill it with soil, with compost, and use that instead of a pot. Another example could be collecting rainwater, saving up on water when watering the plants.
And would you say the humidifier water is good for plants? Because some people say it's good, some people say it's bad. What's the right answer?
No, it is not at all good, as the water can contain a few dust particles that are horrible for the roots of the plant, and it may also start cutting off the nutrients coming in, and the dust will go in and completely kill everything.
So definitely a big fat no. So, do you have any tips for growing plants in small places like on a balcony or even just a windowsill?
Yeah, one thing we do actually in the lab where the space is a bit limited to grow plants is we use yogurt cups. They're quite small for a pot. You can easily fit it on a windowsill. We use them to grow spider plants in them. You can also grow herbs in them. It's actually a very easy plant to grow, herbs such as basil, mint. So those are two easy herbs to grow in small yogurt cups. So people have like just a small balcony. They need to make sure what type of plant they're getting. So if the balcony is sunny, make sure you get an outdoor plant that enjoys plenty of sunshine. If you do not have enough sunshine in the balcony, you need to research the right plant for those conditions. So the advice here would be do your research before getting any plants for your balcony or indoors if you don't have the space outdoors, just to make sure that it survives, that you have the right conditions for it to stay alive.
And speaking about plants and balconies, I think in the middle school, like right in front of all of those classes, I think you have some plants. Yeah.
Yes. So the idea, our next idea for the gardening club is to start embellishing the different areas of the school. So places where we can make them look nicer with some greenery, some plants. And we started by decorating the windowsills within the sciences corridor where there are all the science labs. Once we decorated all those, we moved on to the middle school. We've added planters there. We're using plants that are easy to survive, that don't need much care. And it's making the area look nicer. It looks more alive. And what's nice about it is that students who never joined the gardening club, whenever they see one of us of the gardening club, they tell us that's looking nice. It's looking lively now. We like that. So that's very good feedback for us.
Okay. And do these plants require a lot of maintenance? I mean, obviously they do, but like the plants that you were mentioning, like the ones in balconies or like the ones that you have right in front of the middle school, these little plants, not the ones in the gardens, these type of plants, do they require loads of maintenance?
Not really. We choose plants which can survive or can withstand minimal care. So I'll mention the spider plants again. Basically, all you need is to put them either in some water or some soil and make sure that they do not dry out. So you keep the soil moist. But that's very easy to maintain, and also they make a nice visual aspect because eventually if you let it grow, it starts growing small plantlets out of it through runners, which makes the plant look much fuller and larger.
Okay. So there's a lot to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what would you say are some of the biggest challenges you face when gardening at school? I'm sure there's a lot.
Where shall we start? So, first of all, again, talking from a teacher's perspective, is the short amount of time that we get each week. So, this is done during midday break. And obviously, students first need to eat, make sure that they've eaten their lunch, maybe use the bathroom, and then we start with the club. So time-wise, we're very constricted. So we have to plan really well each activity we're doing each week to make sure that we can start and finish it, say in about 30 minutes maximum.
So you
Uh,
take up your big breaks?
Yes, and it's not just a matter of finishing the activity, whatever we're doing. We have to also think about returning all the equipment that we've used in its place, clean up the area if we've made a mess. So, to me as a teacher, that is my biggest constraint and challenge. There are a few others, though.
Yes, for example, as students, we do a lot of the watering to the full and the broad beans. We stay filling up the jerry cans and running across the track and watering them and then reversing the whole break. Some of our breaks are and mornings are just doing that.
Wow, a lot of determination I can see.
Yes.
Do you ever take up any of your personal time, like after school?
Yes, it has to. Otherwise, it would be practically impossible to keep up. As Gregory mentioned, every morning or most mornings, especially in summertime, the first thing they do when they come to school is they come to the lab, fill the water, and start watering the plants instead of
So,
running around and playing. They start watering the plants. Also, when it's not our gardening day, gardening club day, as teachers, we also have to keep watering the plants. So the plants around the sciences corridor, they get watered more frequently by us teachers in our free time when we have a free period, for example, or maybe during big break or in the morning. So it's impossible to keep the gardening club running with just once a week meeting and that's it. So it's an ongoing process, which also involves the students, not just the teachers.
so members meet as well during summer when school isn't.
No, so
No.
to make sure that the plants survive in summer, what we do is us three teachers, we take these plants home, we take care of them during the summer holidays at home, and in September we bring them back.
Loads of personal contribution.
Yes.
So I bet your houses are pretty full.
Yeah, in summer my balcony would be full, my garden would be full, yes.
Okay. And so, ever had to deal with any plant diseases or pests? And if so, how do you handle those situations?
Not really. We do not really have a pest problem at school. Um, um, so we are lucky to have the soil patch where we grow the broad beans just by the bastions. So that makes it a bit more difficult for pests to get into the area where we're growing our crops. Um, um, at the front of the school, at the front garden, there are also chemical pesticides which are used to keep out certain pests which could damage the plants and flowers growing on the front garden. So it's like on both sides it's protected from the front and from the back. So we do not really get any pests within our area.
Okay, that's nice to hear. And what do you do during the winter when gardening isn't active? And how do you stay motivated?
Plants are alive summer and winter, and they need care summer and winter. So there's still gardening happening. Usually, what we do in winter when it's raining is we stay in the lab and we prepare cuttings, we prepare pots. For example, we were painting yogurt cups to make them more visually appealing, to use them for Mother's Day as pots. We also plan our next activity. We plan the timelines, what we need, what resources we'll need, how we'll be getting them. We share ideas with the students as well. They also give us plenty of ideas. I'll go back to the olive oil. The first idea actually came from Gregory. I don't know if you
Okay.
want to elaborate on how your idea came about.
Yes, it was headmaster came to speak to me and told me that there were several olive trees in the school that he saw that were flourished with different olives. He told me to maybe speak to the gardening club and see if anything could be done. I spoke to them and they said they agreed to go on to the idea. And after a few weeks, we started with little sheets and starting to harvest them with special combs.
Okay.
Yes.
So, so it comes from both sides, the contribution, a lot of teamwork, and another question. Um, almost forgot what it is. Uh, how many members do you have?
So it's not all every week the same amount of students that come. Obviously, they have other commitments like sports activities, but on average, there's always around 8 to 10 students who
Okay.
come weekly, who join us weekly.
And that's just from the middle school.
Uh,
School.
it's mostly middle school. Usually, senior school, they are busier with sports activities, inter-house. So their attendance is a bit more sporadic than middle school students.
Yeah. And junior school, do you have any idea?
Junior school, I believe there is Mr. Gerada, who basically is in charge of the gardening club. But as I said previously, since their break times are slightly different to ours, while they have their break and doing their gardening activities, we are still teaching. So we cannot really get together to work on one big project.
So as I can see, it's a real challenge. I mean, 8 people for most of the school. It's a pretty challenge, a big challenge. Yeah. Um, so for anyone who wants to start gardening but doesn't know where to begin, what's your advice?
Um, uh,
So, something I would suggest is not to think big, just start small, do your research, start with something easy to grow. As I said earlier, for example, herbs or spider plants, succulents. Do your research, see what type of soil they need, what type of environment, whether they need plenty of sunshine or if they are indoor plants. Start small. That would be my advice.
Start small. Any tips from you, Gregory?
uh, yes, and maybe new beginners may focus too much on their plant by overwatering it, or actually the opposite, and also other problems that may arise as well. It depends the plant, obviously.
Yeah. And what is a common mistake that beginners make, and how can they avoid it?
I just said people can focus or not focus too much on their plants, and some may see it every few days and water it every time a lot, jerry cans, and slowly the roots can't take it and it will eventually die.
Okay. Do you have any methods that people can, get a constant routine of watering their plants? Because people sometimes just lose their habit of taking care of the plants. Do you have any methods?
Yes, at my home I try sometimes I do hydroponics. Um, Sometimes I also make.
Do you mind elaborating a bit more on the?
Yes, sometimes I make small canisters that have very minute holes, and they're tall, big ones where instead of me watering them every few days, these big canisters drop by drop. The water consumption is not that much, and at least you know how much is going in. And also, obviously, that there's too much, you can just take it off a bit and either put it in another plant or just drain it in another plant.
So it's like a mini watering machine.
Yes.
So if a student wanted to join the gardening club in St. Edwards, what's the best piece of advice for them?
Maybe to join one day, see if they like it or not, and then after that they can say, okay, I will come the next few meetings and I will try and contribute as much as I can.
Okay, sounds nice. So that's all. Any last comments from you two?
So maybe anyone who would like to take up gardening, I strongly encourage you to do so. It's a rewarding hobby, but do not expect results immediately. You need to be very patient. You need to do your research to be successful, and eventually you'll reap the benefits of them.
Anything from you, Gregory? Trent?
No, just always focus on your plant, but not focus it too much.
From my end, what this seems is that gardening is, first of all, you need to be determined. Because if you're not determined, nothing's really going to happen, and you're just going to kill a bunch of plants. It's a challenge. You need a lot of time on your hands, from it seems. Um, you need a kind of constant routine on your plants. You need to do some research, as you said, Miss Wilkinson. You need to know your stuff as well on gardening. You need to know where to get sometimes your sources from. Maybe you could as well, I don't know, be with community to make it a bit happier, because maybe you could get a bit bored on your own. Um, yeah, like the gardening club of St. Edward's. Maybe in the future some more children would join, not just 8, to make life easier for the
The
members.
more the merrier.
The more the merrier, exactly. So that's all. Thank you very much for tuning in. See you next time.